need this. My name's Zoe, my brain's a dragon, and I have just realized that it is September. But the end of September, which means that as of, well, Friday this week, it's October. And that's the month before National Novel Writing Month. And that means that in a month, I need to have some idea what I'll be writing, so I can have a complete novel done by the end of November. I think this folder suddenly makes sense. The problem, of course, is that while I have the folder is entirely empty. We need a plan. So, one of the things that I love the most about the entire year on my writing calendar is National Novel Writing Month. It's a fantastic, entirely ridiculous challenge where you write a 50,000 word piece of new fiction in a month. Because why not, right? Now, I have done Nano more times than I care to admit. Although I will own it, I just can't remember that many because, like, brain dragon, brain holes, important information like that falls out. I know that November is fine. I know that I will hit November, and most probably by the end of the month I will have 50,000 words of something fun. But this year I'd really like to have some kind of actual plan and process going into it so that I don't end up panicking. Because that's normally what happens, and then my poor people have to kind of peel me off the ceiling or dig me out of whatever brain hole I've fallen down because Brain Dragon dug one. And that's where we end up. To get me through October, I have a plan. Mostly. My theory goes that part of the problem that I have with Nano is I don't actually have enough brain space when Brain Dragon has stress to be able to hold the entire story all at once in my head. So I have to take some of the information, take it out of my head and put it onto paper. Because if it's on paper, then I can refer back to it and it's less likely to have fallen out somewhere along the way. Not saying that it won't, but less likely, and we're going to take better odds. And the other thing that I know is the more prepared I am, the better able I am to think on my feet. There's a saying somewhere around that creativity is really helped by having borders and constraints. Don't ask me who said it. I forget. I have to admit, Brain Dragon really likes it when the answers are significantly more confined than just make it up, have fun. It's amazing. I have a theory we're going to test this coming October, or Preptober. The plan goes: we're going to break down the levels required of story structure into 4 chunks. This means that hopefully I should be able to get one done per week. And if I can't, that's fine, because we're going to start with the absolute foundations, the basics that'll give us enough to work with that it won't be a complete panic, and then we'll move up from there. Phase 1. The basics. Genre, setting, cast, only of main characters, thank you very much, not everybody, just the main cast, and subgenre, because that should give us enough tropes and interesting themes and character arcs and things to get us actually started. And it means that I can go through all my favorite genres, my favorite tropes, and get some idea what the overall structure will probably look like. Hopefully, if nothing else, and I spend 4 weeks working on that, at least I'll have some interesting character tropes to play with, and that should be fine. Phase 2. Main structural points, main character arcs, main subplot, and, if we're feeling lucky, theme. In this instance, I'm going to start with the rock your plot scenes, which is sometimes also known as the 8 or 9 plot point method, and work from there. The reason being that there's only 8 or 9 scenes, so I only have to think of 8 or 9 scenes, and that should be fine. And they're divvied out not by necessarily character arc, but by word count, and that makes me happy. It also gives me a really broad structure that I can then figure out what goes in after that, and I don't have to be overly concerned about it. It also means if I have the main character arcs, I can put in layering and go, oh, this side character is a foil for the main character in this way when I'm actually writing it. Gives me plenty of scope. Theme is always nice just because that way I can make sure that I lean into some pieces and lean away from others, I guess. And of course, knowing that there will be subplots is important because you have to layer that sort of in fairly early, because otherwise you end up spending a lot of time trying not to have them at the kitchen table all the time, because surely we would just have this conversation over a cup of tea, right? Phase 3. This is where we start adding more scenes. So for example, we might add in the save the cat beats. This means we have more plot points to play with, as well as some overarching pieces. We could also add romancing the beat because they've got more tone stuff in there. Or we could even, maybe if we're feeling particularly out there, add in all of those and the heroine's journey by Gail Carriger, because why not? And then we can also add in things like additional character arcs or minor plot twists, various things. We can also, at this point, do character sheets, because character sheets are important and I never remember to do them. Should probably put in here that we could do things like location sheets and continuity notes and things like that. Stuff that will help me when I get stuck partway through, because that is so gonna happen. And then Phase 4, the final preparations. This one I'm not even sure that I'll get to, but we can hope, right? Phase 4 is probably going to be an even more detailed plot outline, and for that I might use, say, Manuscript Shredder's outline, because it's got a fantastic 30 days, here's your plot pieces, go have fun. And I find that really helpful, particularly if I'm struggling and I haven't done any preparation in October, like some other years that I'm not going to mention. And yeah, let's just say I'm learning from experience this time, yeah? But that also means that I can do things like and then draft, or a sketch draft. That's generally where I tell myself a version of the story, which is, and then they did this, and then that happened, and then they said, and then they thought, and then, ooh. It's kind of the anecdotal version that you would tell a friend. It means that it gives you a much more solid outline, so you've got a little bit more to play with if you're having a day when perhaps Brain Dragon is tired because panics for no reason, and that clearly means that words are less important than whatever we're panicking about, which could be anything. That's fine. The then draft also means that I'll be able to see the parts where there isn't perhaps as much detail as I might need, like in the second half of Act 2, for example. I know that I can get difficult to live with in that period. You have to make your character suffer, and I want everyone to be happy. And week 3 is really hard, but if I have an and then draft, perhaps when I get to week 3, I will know that they are going to be happy because I've already written it down, so it's just a matter of making it more details. And hopefully that might mean that I eat less chocolate and drink less hot chocolate, and perhaps don't sit underneath a blanket for many hours instead of writing, because that's a better plan apparently. The important thing to note with the and then sketch draft is that I will not be counting those words towards Nano. And that might sound a little weird, but it's just that they're not prose. And in my head, they're two separate things. Some people actually do that in Nano. They do their outline as part of their Nano word count and just sort of expand it out. Kind of like the snowflake method, but different. I don't know, I haven't tried the snowflake method. I've looked at it, but then I got confused. It happens. I hope I'm going to have a fantastic time during prep, because now I have a plan and accountability, and these things are important. I will check back in and see if we can get through phase 1. And if we do, how fast do we get to phase 2? Do we make it to phase 3? Is there something lurking in there that's going to make it more difficult than I think? The answer is probably yes. I'm going to go, because there is tea to drink, there are stories to plan, and there are adventures to be had. And I will see you next time. Bye, lovely.